So imagine this. You are a 50-year-old boy in high school. You just overslept because you kept reading manga the whole night to your disappointment of a weep, so you had no choice but to take a train you normally never would take. But this accident lets you meet the most gorgeous girl you've ever seen in your life, an actual 10 out of 10, and you instantly fall in love. There was just one little problem. She's getting molested. Filling yourself with courage, you take a hold of the molester, but you notice how uncomfortable the girl is in this situation, so you do the only thing you can think of. I know I have a cute ass, but that doesn't mean you should ever touch it, you bucket-handed old man. Going out, the girl thanks you and even asks you for contact information. Overjoyed, you accept it and end up going on a date the next day. You have a lot of fun and part ways. Later you plan another date with the girl and you have become certain of it. She's the one. So for the first time in your life, you grow a pair and confess to the girl. But instead of giving you a reply, she starts crying while muttering I'm sorry over and over again before running away. Heartbroken, you go back to school fully depressed and your homies do what they do best. Laugh at your situation. At least that is until the same girl once again DMs you, wanted to clear everything up. You meet each other in your local restaurant and she has something to show you. So you wait for her to come back until this office lady comes sitting at your table. That lady is the same girl you went on 2 dates with. And she's 27. That's basically how the manga Are You Okay with a Slightly Older Girlfriend starts. So you might think to yourself, how the hell do you even get to the point of reading something like this? And the answer is pretty easy. Twitter. It's always Twitter. When reading the synopsis of the story, I was baffled by what this was about. This manga unironically was a story of how Kaoru Momota, a 15-year-old high school boy, started dating Hime Orihara, a 27-year-old office lady. Look, everyone knows that the Japanese write pretty questionable things at times, but this manga entered a taboo that has become quite relevant on the internet recently. So, intrigued, I started reading the manga, trying to understand what the actual fuck the author was trying to write. And surprisingly, I really did not see this coming, the manga was actually pretty good. Now, put the focus down, don't call the neighborhood watch, I know what you're thinking. That's a whole ass manga about a legitimate pedophilic relationship. And you are absolutely right. This is totally illegal by all means, and arguing that it isn't is just plain stupid. This is something that should not happen and all the characters acknowledge it. That is why Hime told Momota the truth and instantly tried to cut him off after he confessed to her. The reason she even was wearing that uniform in the first place was because she got completely wasted with a friend of hers and tried their old uniforms on. That's why kids, you should always drink in moderation because you do extremely dumb stuff when you're drunk. Hime then went on these 2 dates because Momota genuinely saved her, not only by stopping the pervert, but also by not pointing her out to be the actual victim. Just imagine the commotion if it came out that she actually was a 27-year-old in high school uniform. It would be pretty bad. But the relationship they had to stop there. She rejected him pretty harshly and clearly. They lived in different worlds and only problems would arise if they kept contact. That is also the same thing that Momota's friends have told him. He should just completely give up on her. And ultimately, even Momota understood that he should give up on her. But sadly, feelings aren't that simple. After he fought and struggled with this issue for multiple days, Momota came back to his original conclusion. He had fallen in love with Hime. And now it wasn't only the image of the high school girl he saw, but also the 27-year-old lady. So he once again met with her and confessed his feelings to her. Hime of course rejected him pretty harshly again, but in reality she deep down also started liking Momota. But she was the adult and had to end things there. And she would have, had Momota not just pulled the most romantic moves he ever could. Basically, in the talk they had when Hime rejected him, she briefly talked about how her boyfriend should be a sensible man ready to go to the amusement park and confess to her in front of a castle, bouquet in hand. And so, with the help of his friends, he built a sandcastle and once again confessed to her. Hime, touched by this, was wavering and did her best to persuade him out of her, because she genuinely wanted him to have a normal adolescence. She couldn't keep that away from him because she fell in love with him. But even after she brought up all the points he could end up regretting, he still was adamant about loving her. So they started dating. After After reading all of that, I was extremely conflicted about this. To me, it pretty much didn't matter. If you were in a relationship with a minor, you automatically were a disgusting human being. And even after having read the entirety of the manga, I still firmly believe that if you date a minor, you are kind of a creep. Unless it's like an age gap of like 2 to 3 years, cause honestly, who cares if a 19-year-old dates a 16-year-old? But after having read this manga, my thoughts about this whole topic have gotten at the very least a bit more nuanced, I would say. While reading the rest of the story, I tried taking it at face value, without directly judging the pretty problematic topic at hand. And so, I just watched as their life as a couple went on. And being completely honest, this was just really good romance. Not only because there are cute heart-fluttering moments, but also due to them having actual couple talks. See, these are things I sometimes miss in my rom-coms. Actual talks that feel like talks that couples should have, like when Momota accidentally upset Hime with some insensitive remark. Or when Hime began feeling a lot of guilt because he dated her while he could have dated a girl his age. You see, when I saw the couple, I after some time really only could see a healthy and loving relationship. Because that was all there was to their relationship. And so, about 30 chapters later, I was done reading the manga. And it left me with a lot to think about. I've always looked at a relationship between a minor and an adult with a lot of contempt and disgust. But at some point in this story, I kind of stopped caring about that and legitimately began enjoying their relationship. So I genuinely started asking myself a lot of questions. You see, I in real life have seen a similar situation. There was this one girl that I've known ever since elementary school. When going into middle and high school, we didn't really speak much, but we still were on friendly terms. The reason why I am mentioning her is because of what happened around the last 2 years of high school. The girl in question started dating someone that was about 10 to 12 years older than her, if I recall correctly. And well, I think it is obvious, but a lot of people were pretty judgmental of it, me included. Every time their relationship was mentioned or I saw the dude, I felt pretty grossed out. But well, it was not my place to tell them what to do, and even her good friends seemed pretty supportive of it, so I just turned my eyes away from it. But deep down, I still felt disgusted by their relationship. That is why I was conflicted because of how much I enjoyed this manga, how much I ended up liking these characters and their romance. Both situations were pretty similar, but I ended up having two completely different reactions and feelings about them. I couldn't at the time give a reason as to why it was like that, so I had to go back to the basics. And I started asking myself a question that I, and probably a lot of people, hadn't thought that deeply about. I'm begging you, do not misunderstand what I'm about to say, and please, for the love of God, just listen to my point before saying anything. Here goes nothing. What are the bad things about the relationship between a minor and an adult? No, seriously, that is a genuine question I started asking myself. I always thought it was disgusting, but if I was completely honest, the only thing I would say is that it is extremely weird and gross. Not that long ago, a friend of mine even had a poll about what we thought about the relationship of a 16-year-old boy and a 23-year-old girl, and I pretty much said the same things, that it was weird that the woman even looked at the 60-year-old boy in the first place. My reasoning behind it was that the adult in question either had to be pretty immature and fit better with people that age, or that she thought that the boy in question was mature enough to get into a relationship with. These were my reasonings behind why I thought it was weird, but I don't think they are satisfying enough to really say it is a bad thing. So I started listening and reading a lot about this topic. And thanks to that, I came to a solid conclusion as to why dating a minor in the great majority of situations is extremely bad. It all has to do with how there most likely is an extreme power dynamic in the relationship. I personally don't think that there are a lot of relationships where both partners are completely equals in everything that happens in the relationship, but I do think that for a successful relationship, the people in question at least have to be on even playing fields when it comes to making decisions about them. The problem with a relationship between an adult and a minor are the unfair advantages that the adult most likely has over the minor. Relationships with power dynamics pretty much always are not a good thing. Imagine a CEO, a teacher, or a coach having a relationship with someone that is below them. You just never know if their relationship is purely wholesome or if it was caused due to the difference in power between the two parties, like one abusing their might over the other to force a relationship. The same is true for a relationship between an adult and a minor. Just think about it. An adult probably has more experience in terms of relationships, probably has a job with stable income, has a means of transportation, or maybe has their own apartment or house. Compare that to a teenager who probably still lives from the money of their parents, lives in their house and has to go to school and probably doesn't have a lot of experience with relationships, and you can already see that the adult more than likely has far more control over the relationship than the minor. All that to say that an adult probably has means to manipulate a minor in a relationship that another minor doesn't have. That to me is the extremely bad thing about relationships between adults and minors. It's the potentially predatory behavior behind it that makes it so bad. Also, just a little side note I would like to add to this, but even though I've put most of the responsibility onto the adult, it doesn't mean that the minor is completely powerless or doesn't have anything to get reproached about. I do not know why, but it seems like a lot of people on the internet have been infantilizing teenagers. I really do not understand why people have started acting like teenagers do not understand anything of the world or what they do, but that behavior is extremely dangerous to me. It is true that a lot of teenagers still have to learn a lot about how the world works or even learn about who they are and what they want to do, but acting as if they are not fit to make any decisions or do not have the capacities to think for themselves is extremely dangerous. I honestly think that people saying all of these things do not understand how important education and communication are for the growth of these teenagers, and to further help them you should not only talk to them, but also listen to them and let them reason themselves. Anyways, after having put into words why these relationships probably are a bad thing, I also understood why I could not hate or feel disgusted by the relationship between Hime and Momota. And there were two big reasons. Seriously? Get your mind out of the gutter already. The first one is that Hime never really took advantage of Momota throughout the manga. When they started dating, well, she really treated him with respect and like her equal. She didn't ever try taking advantage of the fact that he was 15 or not experienced in romance to force him into things, even though that probably was because she herself had no experience. And with that follows the next reason, the fact that all the characters were being pretty mature. See, Momota and the people around him have shown to be pretty mature when it matters. He and Hime have important talks about the relationship, about the feelings that they have, what they do and do not like about the situations that they are in. When he and his two friends talk about it, the friends first advise him to give up on her, but seeing that he genuinely loved her, they decided to just be supportive of him. Hime's best friend also had a similar thought process when she heard of their relationship, but even though she herself wasn't really keen on Hime dating a minor, she understood that at the end of the day, the feelings of the two people in love mattered the most. But above these two reasons lies a simple, yet pretty complicated one. The fact that they genuinely loved each other for who they were. At some point in the manga, someone asks Momota if he likes older mature women, and his answer was not specially. He just ended up falling in love for Hime because she was Hime. The same was true for Hime. She loved Momota because of who he was, not because he was younger than her or whatever. And well, that I think ultimately is the reason that I didn't feel bad or disgusted by the relationship, because I was able to see them grow as a couple and saw how wholesome and healthy their relationship was. This manga made me understand that you as an outsider don't really know everything that is happening in that relationship. That's why I now want to try to be less judgmental about things like this. But does that mean that I think it generally is okay to date a minor? Absolutely not! Even though I said all of this, I still firmly believe that you as an adult should not date a minor, or at the very least should always follow the laws of consent in your country. The reason why the relationship worked in the manga is because of how exceptional Momota and Hime are. It's not that relationships like Momota's and Hime's do not exist, but from what I know they are in such a small minority that it isn't fair to advocate for it. Just try finding a minor as mature as Momota or an adult as pure, respectful and thoughtful as Hime. At the end of the day, what should take priority is preventing the creation of potential victims. I'm sure that there are and will be many exceptions, people that also have genuinely wholesome and healthy relationships with minors and do not take advantage of them. But in a world where even relationships between adults can get extremely disgusting, I would always choose to prevent any troubles that relationships between a minor and an adult can create. But well, contrary to before, if I happen to see a similar situation again, I will at least try to understand and know what is happening in that relationship before completely condemning it and feeling all that disgust I felt before. But yeah, that is pretty much how this manga brought some nuance in my mindset. I really loved reading this manga and do not have a lot of things I can criticize it about. The only thing I didn't really like was the last plot twist. I just didn't like it at all, but well, that might be just me. I really recommend reading the manga, it unironically is pretty good. Also, if you have any thoughts or want to add something about this topic, you can always leave a comment. I would love to hear other people's thoughts about this topic and even have conversations about it. That was pretty much all I had to say. Leave a like, comment and subscribe to this channel. I mainly make anime and gaming videos, but also like delving into topics I feel passionate about. Well, this was Zartigana. Until next time.